Hello and welcome to the next instalment of our video. I'm the Worm, this is Mr. Proton. Today we're going to be doing a review on the Innokin IClear 30, which is a dual core clearomiser. Yeah, nearly said cartomiser because I was thinking of that thing. It's because I saw that thing in your hand. You're off-putting the video.
Dual core clearomiser.
If the video goes wrong, it's his fault.
It always is.
Right, well, let's show you how it comes first. It comes in quite a nice little box.
It's nice.
It is nice.
Pointless, but it's nice. It doesn't matter. It's nice they do it, but
I mean, this one is a little
expensive.
bit busted. If you can see there,
If you see our hour-long sort of intro to vaping video, we touched on that there. That's mine. That's got a cracked tank.
So we're using that one because it's empty.
That one's the one we had empty because I'm not using it. Obviously, the tank's cracked. But we'll go into how that's happened and possible reasons and so on and so forth.
But
Momentarily, but it's fine for demoing it. Just imagine yours isn't going to have a clear tank, or yours isn't going to have a cracked tank, so yours will be clear and all nice and presentable.
It's very similar to the VV Nova, which we will be doing a video on soon, but basically the bottom and top both come off, except for it's not a drip tip, it is a completely...
It's like a V3 style head, it's screw threaded. Threaded? What is wrong with me?
Threaded.
Threaded. Honestly, how the American people understand, I don't know, honestly, because you just talk a different language just half the time anyway. We talk rubbish.
I mean, this one...
The Wicks are ruined on that.
Yeah, the Wicks are ruined on this one, but that's your atomizer. I mean, it's got 4 wick system on, well, it's a dual core, but it's got 4 wicks in each coil.
Yeah, it's like two Nova heads inside one head.
Obviously one broke off because
several broken off. Well, I can't.
But you've got your base, which your atomizer screws into. You have to kind of get these wicks to go inside.
Tuck them inside the skirt or whatever. Or
you can just, well, you can on my one, for some reason it doesn't want to do it on this one.
I think I unravelled them slightly. That's the top anyway, your top piece, that connects to your tube, and then that comes down, meets the atomizer once it's screwed together in now, and then you screw that in. Unfortunately you can't replace this head with anything else. We tried a V3 head and that's not long enough, is it?
No, it's not long enough. But the screw works. The
screw thread works, it just will then vent liquid straight into your mouth because it's not meeting the top of the atomizer. I like the tip. I do like the tip. It's nice.
Yeah, so King Kong style.
King Kong style. It's stainless. When we first bought these, we were worried that it was going to be a bit flimsy and sort of fall everywhere, but it's not. It's got a decent amount of resistance, so you do have to give it a good shove. And when you leave it in a position, it will stay in that position unless obviously you knock it hard or
you leave it in your pocket. Yeah,
if you put it in your pocket, but to be honest with you, I wouldn't advise carrying these around in your pocket anyway. To be fair.
I mean, we had literally. It was in his. He had. We assume it was a liquid and a case of Mr. Proton over tightening them. Slight little crack got in there. The liquid got inside the little crack and spread. Yeah,
I think it's done like a spiderweb type thing. We're on the crack already, both physically and metaphorically. The crack developed.
That's my one with obviously no crack and the juicing. Just so you see the difference.
Nice and full. They do. I think they look nice. I mean, I wish it was stainless around there and not a slatted kind of steel, but it does look nice. The crack. Now, I do mine as tight as it'll go. I don't really force it, or didn't really force it. And I got a little crack developing. I noticed it when I was around another friend of ours. And since then, the tank has gone cloudy. Which I'm guessing is a result of liquid being in there and kind of getting into the untreated polycarbonate. I wasn't a massive reader of all this kind of stuff when we bought these, and I wasn't aware that liquids could crack tanks. So I emailed vaporscape.co.uk. I emailed them and mentioned that we was having some issues with it, and that also the tank had just sort of basically spontaneously cracked. They've been pretty helpful. I'd say in this matter as well, but I don't really want to, if that makes sense. I spoke to a man called Jason now, and he was helpful to an extent, basically saying that can happen with some liquid. Certain liquids will cause your tank to crack. If they're polycarbonate, polypropylene apparently is more resilient, and obviously your metal tank and stuff aren't going to suffer this at all. And basically, I said, well, surely you should let us know that there are going to be some liquids that could do that. And their response was that they shouldn't have to let us know about other people's liquids. Seeing as the liquids, I then asked him what liquids they were, and some of the liquids he mentions they're actually selling on Vaporscape. Seeing as that's the case, surely you think you'd want their customers to be a little bit aware. Safer Cigs, we actually looked at the website earlier, Safer Cigs are warning you if they're selling something with a polycarbonate tank that certain liquids will crack it, or potentially crack it, and they even list what liquids those are that they
What
sell.
the ones that sell, yeah.
And I think that's not only a nice thing to do, but I think it should really be a bit of a, not compulsory, but a done thing in amongst the whole vaping community anyway, and especially from the retailers and the sellers, because if you're not sure what you're buying, which, let's face it, a lot of us, even if you know what you're talking about, aren't sure all the time of what we're buying. We research as much as possible, but we can only base those purchases on what other people have said about it, which is why we try and do this and get people informed as much as possible. This has got a polycarbonate tank. It's not replaceable. You can't buy the tank separately. You have to buy an entire new unit. They don't make any other tanks for this, like metal tanks, which would be nice or anything like that. It's literally, you get the one it comes with, and if it goes, then you've got to buy an entire new unit. That's one of the iClear's problems. Again, it happens. It's not.
We don't know how
like
widespread
all
this tank
products are
is.
bad. I mean,
I tighten my tank up as tight as it goes as well, and I've had no issues with it.
I'd like to point out as well that the juice that's in there, or the juices that Worm has in his tanks, are similar to. I mean, I was using spearmint, and I've read several sites, and spearmint isn't one of the recommended juices that can cause your tank to crack.
Vanilla.
Vanilla is, and that is vanilla in there. Okay, and I had vanilla in this at some point. It just wasn't when it cracked. So it probably was the cause. So just be aware that when you're buying stuff, make sure if it's available in a polypropylene tank and not polycarbonate, get the polypropylene tank or metal one or whatever. Just try and avoid this if possible. Either that, or make sure you're not putting liquids in it that could potentially cause the crack. And you may ask, how do you do that if you don't know what they are? And that is the question that I think everyone in the vaping community should be proposing to the vendors that are selling this, because the people who have no idea will buy these and it will crack and it will put them off vaping and causing the retailers to lose further purchases, and also maybe someone else will get back on the old fags because of it. You don't know.
This is how the atomizers come. Quite a nice little packet. Each one is individually wrapped. Very nice.
And they're the same. Again, they're the same price as all the other Clearizer atomizers, £2.50, and they've got twice the amount of coils, twice the amount of wicks. There's a lot of metal work in there. It's a big stem. It's not like a Nova where you just replace the head; you replace the entire stem every time.
That is the other thing I will tap on. When you're putting this new stem on, if you're replacing it or washing it out, make sure it is very tight. We didn't know this at first, but when you actually go to put the head on, you'll see sometimes the silica and the metal from the tip doesn't always line up. With this, if you have to make sure it's very tight, and then the actual stem goes completely straight.
It's a similar problem to what the V3s have got. You know, I mean, if you watched our V3 video, we demonstrated how the V3s can roll on the body, and it slightly locks out the alignment between the tip and the head. It's a similar thing to that, but it's nothing to do with the body rolling. It's because the screw threads aren't all the way down to the bottom. I mean, you may say, well, obviously I'll do it tight. So do we. We're not idiots. You have to do it tight.
Very tight. As tight as you can possibly get it.
To be honest with you, a little check by eye. Do it as tight as you usually do it. A little check by eye. If it meets up, then you don't need to over tighten it. Just put your tank on, fill it with juice. It's not going to be having juice in at this point anyway, unless you notice it after you fill it.
I just recommend putting your tip on before you put your juice in, so you know it's lining up.
Yeah.
Because then you can obviously take it back off, give it a little bit more time.
Once there's juice in there, you're looking at potentially wasting liquid and money, as well as getting sticky fingers, and nicotine's not great to be all over your hands, and it's just not. It's not ideal. For the sake of a 2-second check, you might as well do it. You really might as well do it. It's nice. It is a nice tank. There are other issues.
It was a dual coil.
Yeah, it was dual coil. It was the first dual coil Clearizer. We weren't using cartomizers or anything at the time, so dual coil, single coil hadn't ever really come into the equation. It was just everything was available in single coils, the Novas, the V3s, or the C5s, whatever you want to call them. Mini Novas. It was all kind of single coil atomizer heads, so this was kind of a bit out of there, sort of one of the steps we've taken towards perfecting, if you like, our vaping experience. Something with the V3s and even with the Novas to some extent, you do get the dry hits and you have to do a little bit of a roll. The Novas are a lot less, but you still now and again may have to do it. I can't speak for the Mini Novas, neither can Worm, because neither of us have used one. We just kind of went for the bad boy straight away and didn't waste our time with a 2mm one. You might as well go for the big one. But with this, the idea with this obviously is meant to cure the issue, and having 16 wicks, if you count all sides, is an absolutely mad amount of wicks to have in there. I can't imagine anyone will ever have any wicking issues with this, any dry hits.
We've had no dry hits.
We've had no dry hits. Wicking with this, really, I promise you, isn't an issue. Over wicking can be an issue.
An issue.
If you fill it above 2.5mm, your liquid will sit above the bottom coil, in which case you've got your liquid above your wicks, in which case you're asking for it to flood, really, aren't you? So although they say 3mm, 2.5mm safe, really, even then they do like to suck up the juice. And
if you leave it on its side, it does tend to flood.
It's not a bad thing that it sucks the juice up. If it was vaporising all of that juice, it'd be fantastic. I mean, from my opinion anyway, like I say in my other videos, we make our own juice, so it's not something that bothers us as much as spending 20 quid or sort of $35, whatever it is, on a bottle. So the more I can get into me at once is better. If you ask me, if I can vaporise a half a puff and it comes out like a fog machine, then brilliant. But it's not like that. It's a bit of gurgling and whatever else. My opinion would be to reduce the wicks, make it 12 wicks as opposed to 16, or 6 as opposed to 8. Just reduce those wicks and slide that slide.
Or a little hippie wick on each coil, just to
hippie wick is still wicked, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's.
I mean, it closes the bottom gap. Yeah.
I found on my one when I washed it, there was a little bit of a gap when you put the silica on. Sometimes it doesn't always push all the way down, which is obviously allowing a hole, which is allowing liquid to fall in, especially when you're laying it on your side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could solve that.
I mean,
with
it's not going to
hippie wick
save
yourself.
everything, but it's going to save when you're laying it on the side. It's not going to flood then.
How close them coils are, I don't know. So you might be able to thread a hippie wick through that bottom one, because the bottom one is the trouble one, and get it to press down slightly. Maybe if you hippie wick both of them and you choked the wick slightly, very slightly, not over choke it, because then you just can get dry hits like it's going out of fashion, especially with dual coil. But if you choke the wick slightly, it could make it a bit better. It's not something, again, with my tank cracking and the fact that I went a bit stroppy with this tank, and I did grow to not like it. I'm probably not going to bother, to be honest with you. I haven't got a tank that's not cracked, so there's no point in me risking putting more juice in there and then things just going poof, and then getting covered in it.
I use it very rarely. I mean, it's been sitting there now for like a couple of weeks with that juice in it.
Yeah.
I've been using my Novas, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're alright.
But
They're not bad.
For looks and overall appearance, it does look good. I mean, this little thing, it adds a little touch tank to it. It looks alright. It just looks like your standard clear atomizer, really. It's nice. 6, 7. It's not amazing. Could do with a little bit of updating, shall we say.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's alright.
Looks and overall appearance for me. Love the tip. Think it's wicked. It is a bit long. It's a little bit wider than the Nova, and it's definitely longer than the Nova. It doesn't hold any more than the Nova. I do want to point that out. But I do like the way it looks. I wish it was, like I say, stainless around here and not like sort of grooved. I wish the tank had a bit of customizability. I'm going to give it a 7 for looks, just purely because I thought about it a bit more than we did.
Standard.
It is. It's out there. It's a bit right wing, but it's once you've got it, it's kind of, you can't do anything to it, and it's nice after everything things like Nova to be able to replace your tips and use your preference with drip tips, because it's not just about how it looks.
Put a metal tank on there.
If you like the shorty drip tips, for example, because they feel better for you, then fair enough. If you like the big flared ones or the very narrow ones or flat ones, whatever your preference is, I think that's a part of the whole vaping scene, is because there is so much out there, you can make it exactly what you want, and with this it restricts you slightly.
Usability. It's very easy to fill, it's very easy to clean. It's very easy to use when it's working. It does, like I say, like the flooding issue isn't too bad. All you've got to do is put a bit of tissue at the bottom when you take it off your battery. Just quickly blow through, all the way through the thing. Tissue will grab it up, give it a little wipe, and you're good to go again. It's not a major issue, so usability, it is very easy to use. It's an 8.
As we pointed out in our hour-long video, which again I doubt you made all the way through, but the whole blowing through to clear out your flooding issue or dry burning it and stuff, it can cost you juice, and again, if you're spending 20, 30, 40 dollars or sort of 15, 20 quid on a bottle of juice, 2ml is a 15th of your tank. That's £1 or a couple of dollars just gone. And when you look at it in terms of that, and bear in mind we was having to do that 3 or 4 times a day, each day is costing a £5, and that's without actually the liquid you're vaping, or the cost of the thing, or the cost of the atties, or the cost of the battery. So I think that's a bit of a lot of a pain in the arse, to be honest with you. But if it was no wicking issues, it was wicking just right, it was vaping wicked, the usability, it's as easy to have as a Nova. So yeah, I mean, usability when all is good, 8. When it's not, 5. No, it's not a major issue. Sorry, to blow it through. Like I say, if you're not worried about losing your liquid, it's not a major thing. Main problem I have with the way that they are now, that's if it was working right. If it's not 5, if it's the ones that we've got, the main issue I have is basically Worm leaves his, in this case, like this, and it sits up on its side like that, okay, in order to minimise the risk of flooding. It's not been used for a week or two, maybe a week, about a week. It's not been used for about a week. And well, we basically thought we'll stick it on a battery just to make sure, because we wanted to demonstrate out of vapes, which we've forgotten to do. Paul will do that now, to make sure it wasn't flooding. And literally, it was very, very heavily flooded. And bear in mind, it's been sat like that. It has been sat like that.
It wasn't heavily flooded.
It was enough to go. That is,
It was gurgling.
Yeah.
It was at the border point of being
getting
flooded.
liquid in your mouth. It was close. Okay, but again, there's no reason for this. So why are you doing it? I don't know, but for that, the ones that we've got usability is like 2, and because you don't want to pay, like I said in the other video, you don't want to pay 10-15 quid to have it sat in there indoors. You might as well buy an Arga and actually have a bit of fun. Well, if you're me, you get stroppy, but I do get pissed off when everything's going right and then at the last minute it fucks up. But you might as well experiment a bit with something that's rebuildable, or you might as well buy a dripping atomizer, or you might as well buy a Carto system, because you can get all of these things for this money. Yes, they're not going to be the top notch, and this is the only thing that we've seen that's dual core clearomizer. They're both from Innokin.
Well, you can get the
this and the iClear 16 in it.
Yeah, which is basically a V3, but with a dual core.
I think the Atties are the same. I'm not sure if it's
Yeah,
the same.
the Atties is the same as this, but the actual size and shape of it is very similar. It's somewhere between a Kanger and a V3.
We haven't actually used one, so we're going based off sort of pictures and reference and whatever else, and obviously videos we've seen. So yeah, usability for me, or the ones we've got, it's just a pain in the arse. It annoys me. Looking at this box when I come round here and it's on the side like a child, it fucking annoys me. I want to just go and flick it over, because I shouldn't have to baby my equipment. Yes, I take care of everything I own, and it's not just vaping. Everything I own I take care of. But there's a difference between taking care and it being an ornament. And this is an ornament. So yeah, for me, the ones we've got are like 2 out of 10.
Maintenance. If they're working, I suppose they're like any other thing. They're going to be annoying, but they're not working. Well, the ones we've got are not working, and it's a lot of fiddling around. It's a lot of cleaning and constantly blowing through and constantly just trying to tweak it. So for maintenance, it's, I'm going to say, if they were working, and like if you do get a working one, it's probably a 9. But for our ones, yeah, it's a 3. Yeah, that's being generous.
Well, I mean, mine's very easy to maintain because I don't use it. I've got to disagree with you, Paul. That's a 10 out of 10 because I'd have to do nothing to it. But no, on a serious note, yeah, if they were working fine, they would be just as easy as a Nova. And a Nova's a 8 or a 9. They're easy to clean, they're easy to wash out, they're easy to replace their heads. The heads, from what I gather, will last a while. I didn't get to use mine long enough to burn one out. So yeah, I'd imagine if all was good, it's 8 or 9 out of 10. And if you've got ones that are good, wicked. Like I can imagine if they work really well, that they do work really well. The vapor off them was nice and everything, but for us, the what am I talking about? Maintenance. Well, for me is minimal, and for Paul is minimal as well. Because we haven't touched it in about a week.
No, it's a 3.
So
I had to blow it out once before I got on it because it was a little bit flooded. So vapor, flavour, and production. The flavour it's okay. For a dual core, I was expecting a lot more flavour than what I got. I mean, it's the same as a V3. Maybe the V3 is a little bit better, but I'm getting no difference in flavour really. Production, I do get a lot more production. Obviously, you've got 2 cores in there, both working away.
It's a lot more.
Well, it is more. It's a dual core. It's producing more.
It's a lot more. What, than a V3 or than a Nova?
Than a V3.
Oh, it's more, but it's not a lot more.
Well, it's a dual core. It's going to give you more vapour.
Don't throw the people off on a wonky trail. It's not loads more. If the V3's not, if your V3's dry wicking or it's under half a tank, then yeah, it's probably going to be loads more because you're going to struggle to get more vapour. But if a full V3 versus a full one of them, I wouldn't say there's
not a lot more, but it is more.
Yeah, it is more.
It's more. It's a dual coil. It's going to be producing more vapour. End of.
My turn, is it?
Well, apparently you've only had half a turn already, so interrupting my fucking opinions.
You talking shit?
No.
Vapour, flavour and production.
Yeah, flavour. He doesn't know because he hasn't got one. It doesn't work. It broke.
I used mine.
Don't listen to him.
Flavour, about the same as a V3. Vapour, yeah, slightly more than the V3, but only equal to the Nova, in my opinion. He may disagree, but...
No, to the Nova, yes, but for the V3 it's better than the V3.
Yeah, but...
the Nova is miles above the V3.
It's not miles.
It is
above. It's a noticeable difference, yes, but I didn't want to just give the impression that it was like, and you could fill a disco room with fog, because
No, it's not a fog machine.
it's not. It's good.
Just good.
It's good, but the Nova is just as good, if not in my opinion, slightly better, because the flavours on a Nova are better than in a V3, and they're slightly worse. But the Nova will perform as well in terms of vape and throat hit and all that kind of stuff. So overall, I'd say it's a 7 or 8. 7 or an 8. It's a good.
Yeah, I didn't actually. It is about
the
7.
first couple of days we had them, they were working really nice. And it was a nice thing to use. It was kind of a novel thing to use as well, with a tip, and the vapor was nice, and just having dual coils and all that kind of stuff. And again, with this kind of thing, if people don't know what it is and they talk to you, it's kind of like something to start a conversation. If people do know what it is, for a group of friends of ours, we all know what this kind of stuff is in terms of clearomisers and that. It's cool. Then you've got something else to start a conversation with people who have similar hobbies and likes, I suppose, to you, because you can go, well, this is dual coil, blah 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 blah. It's a nice talking point, but I think they need to perfect it slightly. I know it's the first of its kind, and in comparison to something like the Kango, which is the first of its kind, this is leaps and bounds ahead in terms of sort of things that have gone wrong. But it's not right there yet. Yeah, it's not right there.
It's like an underbaked cake. You can probably eat it, but it might make you sick.
You love the metaphors, didn't you?
I do love the metaphors. I'm like a guru over here. I will give you metaphors daily.
Okay, you got to make overall rating, I think, isn't it?
Overall rating. When it's working, it's an 8.5. Sorry. When it's not working, which is quite a lot of the time because it's flooding, yeah, it's a 4.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Overall rating, I've kind of got. I want to go both ways on this, because, well, when I say both ways, it's 2 directions of bad in-ish. Mine overall rating, I've got to base it on mine, and that is the tank cracking, and the issues that I had, flooding and so on and so forth, and having to treat it really gently and leave it indoors like an ornament and all that kind of stuff when it was working. Mine, I want to say probably a 3, being semi-generous, I suppose. Yours, a 4, because although it does work and it hasn't got a cracked tank, it is still something that you've got to leave indoors. And again, if you're going to do something like that, you might as well buy something that's nice and hefty. It works really well, an atomizer or a Genesis style rebuildable tank, or a dripper, or a Genesis dripper. They're out there now as well, so you might as well buy something like that and sort of really experiment with something that is going to be miles above what even the car atomizers and stuff can provide when you get them working right. Again, it's something you have to play with, but it's fun to do-ish. I've got short temper, so I get really stroppy.
Just means rebuilt his Arga T thing about 20 times now.
Yeah,
it's worked once.
Well, twice-ish. I had it working the other day, and I'll tell you, it was on a 2.8 to 3.4 ohm wrap. The wicking was lovely, and the flavour and the vapour of it was fucking beautiful. Unfortunately, I decided to play with the wick a little bit, and I moved the coil and got a hot spot, and I got burnt. From there, it did unravel a bit, but we've gone. I don't know how we've gone from the iClear to the Arga, but
that good.
Overall rating, when they're working really well, if I had to base it on my first 2 days' experience, that's a 8. It's equal, slightly worse, but equal to the Nova. I hope yours still work. I hope they do. I know one of our subscribers left a comment in our Arnold video. If you did watch that whole hour, by the way, and I am talking to you, I can't remember what your name is. If it's Hot something or other, I'm going to look it up. Hot dog. We're going to include it in the next video, mate. Just thumbs up for that if you make it through. I know you said they're perfect for the beginners and stuff, and if yours is working brilliantly, mate, then wicked. I'm happy for you. If you haven't tried things like the Nova and the Kato tanks, and you like the iClear, then give something like this a go. They're not expensive, and in my opinion, compared to the iClear, much better.
I've got nothing else to say, so you might as well lead out.
Right, well, in which case, 25 minutes and 24 minutes and counting, and
we will get that subscriber's name though.
We will get, yeah, next video we're going to do a Nova and we're going to make you famous. I've been Proton, Worm, see you soon.